war. Just this morning, a major BRICS summit concluded, and you guys want to guess what came out of it? Nothing. Literally nothing. Because different members could not agree on whether they want to condemn Iran or they want to condemn the aggression against Iran. Something like this has never happened before, ever, in BRICS' history. If we just go back to last year when the 12-day war took place, there was a unanimous statement coming out of BRICS condemning the war. But this year, the alliance is split, and it all has to do with the fact that Iran itself is shooting at other BRICS members. How can you have an alliance built on helping each other when members are literally trying to kill each other? Take a look at this report. Summit that ended this morning took place in India, in New Delhi to be more specific, and there were foreign ministers present at this summit from pretty much every BRICS country you can think of. As you might have guessed already, the major topic of discussion was the Iran war. Iranian foreign minister was pushing other members of the BRICS to put out a joint statement, a unanimous statement condemning the US-Israeli strikes against Iran. Iran figured this would not be a big deal because after all, everyone thinks of BRICS as an anti-US, anti-Western alliance. But Iranian foreign minister was in for a big shock because at this summit, UAE, which is also a BRICS member, stood up and said that how about instead of condemning the US strikes, we should condemn Iranians because they're the ones who are carrying out terrorist attacks against other Gulf countries and of course against civilian ships in the Strait of Hormuz. This is something Iran was not expecting at all. And because of this disagreement, the statement that India put out, India being the host country for the summit, basically said that, hey guys, we can't agree on anything, so what we're gonna do is not put out a unanimous statement at all. Here are the exact words. There were differing views among some members as regard to the situation in the Middle East region. BRICS members expressed their respective national positions and shared a range of perspectives. Now, one thing to also point out here is that India in their statement or Iran in their statements never actually named UAE specifically. They never said that, hey, UAE was the country that was opposing us. But they gave us all the hints to basically let us know that it was the UAE. Listen to the angry statement that the Iranian foreign minister gave to the press after the summit, and I feel like almost all of you guys will realize which country he's talking about. Take a listen.
Well, as a matter of fact, the final statement by BRICS ministerial meeting was blocked, or some parts of it, by a member state which has its own special relations with Israel, and this is very unfortunate. We have no difficulty with that certain country. They have not been our target in the current war. We only hit American military bases and American military installations which are unfortunately in their soil. So the only reason they stopped the final statement was their support to Israel and the United States in their aggression against Iran, which is very, very unfortunate. I hope by the time that we come for the summit, they come to a good understanding that Iran is a neighbor. We have to live with each other. We have lived for centuries and we have to live for centuries to come. Israelis cannot protect them. Americans cannot protect them. That was proved during this war. The American military bases, their relation with Israel became the source of insecurity. Instead of becoming the source of security, instead of protecting them, it was a source of insecurity for them. So these are the realities that they should understand. And I'm sure if they follow the line of wisdom, they will find Iran as a good neighbor and a good partner.
Now, Iran wants everyone to think that it's just UAE that's against Iran inside of the BRICS, but that's not actually true. Just a few days ago when Iran attacked UAE again, India very strongly and very publicly condemned those attacks. And then just yesterday, India and UAE signed a very major strategic defense partnership framework that's probably not good news for Iran. It's getting more and more isolated, even in alliances that it believes to be anti-Western and anti-US. If you look at the list of members who are part of BRICS, this was bound to happen. The Iran war just sped up the process. Iran started shooting at other members of the alliance like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain, which makes it easier for alliance members to basically hate on each other. But if we just look at all the people that BRICS or all the countries that BRICS has admitted, you know this was never going to be an alliance that was going to, survive.
The Earth is flat, as you know from the previous episode, and we went to the edge to break through the firmament. You have to imagine this. There's a giant ice wall. I saw it myself. I was freezing. I look up and there's a huge ice wall the size of Mount Everest. You wouldn't believe it, so you can't get over the edge. Even the polar bears are like, sir, you can't make it over the edge. We've been down here for millions of years. So I said, let us handle this. We brought the Navy, we had aircraft carriers, we brought the Air Force, we brought the Space Force. We sent so many missiles into the same spot of the firmament, I'm saying for days. And we broke through a little hole, and nobody knows holes more than me. It was a holy moment, if you could believe it, right? And we sent our best astronauts through Space Force. We sent our best people. Central casting. These guys were so handsome. And you might ask me, why are we sending them through? Because there's a reset button, a teeny tiny reset button. It's really a huge reset button, but in relative terms to the Earth, when you grab something and there's a little mini reset button, you need a toothpick. In this case, we needed a giant toothpick because nothing else is going to save. I thought I could save the world, but I couldn't do it. And we need to straighten things out. So we brought a giant toothpick through the hole with Space Force, and we hit that button like no one's ever hit it before. You have to reset. The Earth is a mess. And so the greatest reset is happening right now on the planet. They said it was impossible, but we made it through. And because we hit the reset button, the Earth will be made great again.
What do you mean exactly when you say this is the end of the end?
This is the final phase of the operation. For those of you who think the Q movement is a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy, switch off now if you're still here. I doubt you are. It's real. I've explained this rule. It's been going for 60 years, at least since Kennedy's death. It's been going well before that, in fact, this pushback, but in its latest phase. And this last counter-offensive started the year before Trump was elected. He was elected and he moved it forward. And the top level of filth that's been running the planet's been taken out. The middle order are now panicking and running. By middle order, I mean presidents and prime ministers. They're just middle order schmucks. Heads of departments in public service, for example, they are now panicking and running. They're all ratting on each other because there's been the knock at the door, and when they open the door, there's a man with a gun pointing at their face, an MP4, right here. And the reason they aim there is because it goes straight through to the back of the brain. You're dead before you hit the ground, and they get made an offer, and the offer is cooperate, and most of them do. So they're running and they're squealing on each other. The Masonic filth is now collapsing. All that's left, quote, are the useful idiots at the bottom. And the best they can come up with is late night calls, 3 a.m, heavy breathing, 70s style. So they're actually showing their age as well. But that's the best they can come up with. False allegations about candidates tearing down cornflutes. They're the last ones to go. And middle of next year, people say, what's happening next? Well, we've got a month of discomfort until the end of the year. Discomfort in the sense of, discomfort. In the first quarter, things will start to pick up. A lot of revelations will be made. Truth will start to come out. And by the middle of the year, there'll be the military tribunals are going to kick off. They've already been done. Many have already been done and been effected. People have been charged, found guilty, and executed. People in overseas, people in Australia have been arrested. And let's say they're on a holiday spa somewhere. Middle of the year, you'll start to see it, and you'll understand exactly why I don't care about my language and what effect it has upon the pinheads in this country, because the pinheads are going to get awakening like wouldn't believe. But it's the end of the end, because this is it. This is it. Make sure you've got your food and water and your gas bottles fired up. Be ready for a few weeks of not much to do. And then watch the truth be revealed, and you'll understand exactly why we are as exercised as we are about all of these issues, and why when you look in the mirror, you're going to say, what an idiot. I cannot believe I was so stupid, because the evidence will be so overwhelming, and it's coming in the next 6 months. The evidence will be so overwhelming. You will hang your head in shame.
Thanks very much for that, Ricardo. We'll wrap it up there. Do you have any other final comments?
There's a lot of people who don't believe or simply don't want to hear about Karen Bass's documented relationship with Communist Cuba, Fidel Castro, and the Venceremos Brigade. So let's remove emotion from this for a moment and focus only on the reported facts and the sources behind them. According to reporting referencing a 1976 FBI report, the Venceremos Brigade was created with the assistance from Cuban intelligence. The report described the group as recruiting ideologically aligned Americans and exposing some members to urban warfare and sabotage training. NBC News and the Los Angeles Times reported that Karen Bass traveled to Cuba more than 20 times during the 1970s as part of the Venceremos Brigade. Bass described the trips as cultural and educational. Additional reporting referencing the FBI findings alleged the brigade's broader mission was to cultivate politically active Americans who could eventually obtain positions of influence inside the United States. During Karen Bass's consideration as a possible vice presidential running mate in 2020, her history with the Venceremos Brigade resurfaced nationally, raising renewed questions about her judgment and political ideology. There are also documented public remarks where Bass described Fidel Castro as, quote, extremely charismatic during her youth, and in 2016 referred to Castro's death as, quote, a great loss to the people of Cuba, end quote, comments she later walked back while being vetted for national office. These are not conspiracy theories. These are documented reports, public statements, and historical records. The question isn't whether these things happened. The question is why so many people refuse to discuss them.
As we all probably know by now, Einstein's main objective with his relativity theories, and I stress the word theories, was to eliminate the well-known and documented idea that there was a substance, the ether, that permeated everything and everyone on this earth and was pivotal in trying to explain the true nature of our reality. This was obviously not what the elite controllers wanted, as the ether was, and still is, absolutely free to access if one has the right equipment. By the way, the word equipment also includes you, yourself. But what is the ether? Let's look at its definition in Wikileaks' Believe It or Not. According to ancient and medieval science, ether was also called quintessence, meaning the fifth element, and is the material that fills the region of the universe above the terrestrial sphere. That's the Spaceballs definition. So since Einstein's nefarious Masonic ramblings were published in 1905, the idea of an ether has been relegated to the dark and dusty corner of historical failed research and subsequently intentionally forgotten and suppressed. Or was it? By no coincidence, the plane or planet we live on is named Earth, an anagram for ether. Now, why would the ancients find it so important to name the place we live on after something that doesn't exist? Did you know that AOL, America Online's precursor to Messenger, was called AIMNA, AIMNA, which stands for Ether Intelligent Messaging Network Architecture, owned by Ether Systems Incorporated. Also strange to name a technology and company after something that doesn't exist. As we also know, they love to hide things in plain sight and actually tell us what they are doing in subtle ways. So let's take a look at the world's biggest internet company. Let's search for something on Google. That one is probably not a good example. There it is, right there. Right from Google's inception, this little nugget of information has been visible all the time on every search query. But what does it really mean? The second you hit the enter button on Google search, your query starts its long journey to Silicon Valley and back. From your computer, it is sent to your router or to the plug in the wall. From there, it passes through numerous ISPs, servers, and national backbone routes, underneath the Atlantic Ocean through cables, through numerous servers again, and ends up at Google servers in Silicon Valley. It then sorts through the index of trillions of documents, finds millions of answers, collates them into order, bundles them into a package, and then sends it all the way back again, all in half a second. That's pretty impressive, but also pretty improbable. The whole 11,000-mile round trip for my search query would take half a second only if there was a single, uninterrupted cable from my house to Silicon Valley, which there obviously isn't. What most people think, as I did, is that the reason these searches come back so fast is because it is cached or saved already in your local area ISP server. In reality, that information has only been indexed by your local ISP, the same as your library card catalogue tells you where to find the book, not what's in it. One could argue that Google has national servers set up in all countries, therefore reducing the transmission times, but try searching for an independent small website with a local server from a country across the world from you. It still only takes a second or so to gain complete access. Considering the huge amount of hubs, switches, LANs, WANs, nodes, servers, gateways, ISPs, bridges, protocols, and thousands of miles of cable your search query goes through, half a second to traverse the entire world in any direction and back again is pretty incredible, and in my humble opinion, highly unlikely through a physical network. And what about Skype? Talking to someone halfway across the world in real time, through all of those hubs and switches and oceanic cables, with little or no latency? How is this practically possible? Only NASA can magically overcome an 11-second latency when singing along with astronauts on the fake station. The fiber optic cables laid worldwide in the 1980s are allegedly the speed of light, but they need a booster every so often to stop deterioration of the signal, even though NASA's Starlight travels trillions of miles dodging planets, galaxies, asteroid fields and comets with no light vaccine booster shot required. Another little peculiarity is that the internet as we know it today started off in the 1970s. Back then it was called the Ethernet. Another one of those baffling coincidences. As is usual in our research, going back to the time of free-thinking independent scientists will usually produce the answers that have been hidden by our corrupted scientific institutions. Back when free thought was cherished and not censored. We can find a plethora of old books, papers and studies on the luminiferous ether, all describing the elastic properties, the density, the speed, etc. But what about etherons? Huh? My sentiments exactly. To fully understand the Etheron concept, then this book, which is linked in the description box, must be read and understood. A daunting task, I might add, but it does show us the speed of these little critters. 1.57 times the speed of light, which galaxy brain Einstein said was the fastest thing in the universe. Wrong again, bro. Now, the fantastic speeds of worldwide instant communication becomes a little clearer. Now also the concept of quantum physics becomes clearer as well. Two things can exist at two different places at the same time as they suggest. This theory never sat well with me, but if the time it took to move a signal through the ether was so infinitesimally small, then it would seem that they do indeed coexist. So now our Google search query's 11,000 mile journey only takes 0.00001 of a second. Put a few local hubs, nodes and the cheap router you got from Aldi along the way, and we are now getting much closer to the half a second or so that they show us. So if we can transmit seamlessly and autonomously through the ether, then why all the networks and cables and stuff? Data harvesting and control. You didn't think they'd let us speak to each other in private, did you? The internet is just the tool that is used to access, utilize and organize the ether. Etheric technology has been with us for decades and has been used by all the tech giants for extreme amounts of monetary gain. Have you ever known who was calling before you picked up the phone? Have you ever had that feeling that somebody close to you is in trouble? And what about the dog who always knows when it's time for walkies? Yes, the dog one has been scientifically studied. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake called this the morphic fields, or the science of morphogenetics, which we propose is nothing more than the luminiferous ether at work. Have a think about this. How many times has your cell phone call been cut off, or keeps breaking up, or just hangs up on its own when the signal becomes weak? How many times does this happen, even though you're just talking to your mate who lives 300 yards away? So why is one so good and the other not so much? Two different systems. One using radio frequency technology and the physical network, the other just blatantly using the ether right under our noses. With the advent of app-based phone calls like Skype, WhatsApp, Viber, etc., we saw the gradual transfer of service from network-based communication to ether-based. Did you ever notice that when you do get a good connection on these apps, the quality is way better than the old phone calls? Sometimes it's as if the other person is in the next room. In essence, or quintessence, they are. If the tech giants know about this, then who else knows about it, and who else uses it? Ever wondered how the USGS can detect the epicenter of earthquakes out in the middle of nowhere? Or how about thousands of miles out into the ocean, with pinpoint accuracy? Where is this vast, all-encompassing network of Richter-scale sensors that can pick up small tremors at any point on our vast, flat, green Earth? And the mighty oceans. These events are being read directly from the ether with a technology that they've kept very, very tightly hidden from us. Back to good old Galaxy Brain and his main objective. Einstein was lauded as the greatest scientific mind ever, because he did exactly as he was told by his Masonic overlords and dismissed the very real ether in favour of his psychological gobbledygook theories. Much to the pleasure of the rich elite, who could now do as they've done with all of the Earth's rich and abundant free energy sources. They could sell it.
We saw over the weekend a number of attacks that have gone completely unnoticed by mainstream media. There was an attack on Moscow. Very little coverage on mainstream media. There was a massive attack in Sevastopol, which is in Crimea, Ukraine. There's huge attacks, but nothing being talked about. There was a massive mushroom cloud in Israel that people have tried to share. Chaz Carter tried to share it, and it would not share. It refused to share it. Thank God we've got people on the ground in these places, but there's huge attacks that are going on.
Hey everyone, I have a very big update about this war, and things are happening again that are no longer in our control. I've been saying for a long time there's a major power shift coming at play here. There's countries that are not the US that are about to seize power globally, and this war is one of those avenues that they're doing it. Everyone that was talking about the ceasefire yesterday, come on, you knew that this could not last. It was already broken really before it began. And now what we're dealing with here is very tense situation globally. This is getting to the point where it's World War III territory, okay? Now what we're seeing is all the lies, all the cover-ups about the real truth of this war, about how many bases have been attacked, about how much lives lost, about how much money has been spent. And it seems now we can't even make it 2 weeks peacefully. This thing is just getting started. And you have two major countries that I can't name on here because my team says very sensitive, but two major countries that are about to take power globally. Economy, military, everything. So be ready.